Cisco Secure Firewall, configuring NetFlow using the FMC GUI. You can do this in version 7.4 and later of the FMC. So here's the release notes for version 7.4 of the FMC, and you can see right here that they've added the capability to do all the NetFlow configuration in the GUI, and we've been really wanting this for a long time now because FlexConfig has always been difficult, and now we don't have to deal with it anymore when we're dealing with NetFlow. One thing we do have to make sure we do, though, is if we had already used FlexConfig to configure our FTDs to send NetFlow to a flow collector, we have to remove it using FlexConfig first, and then we can start using the GUI. The other important point here is that not only does the FMC need to be on 7.4, but the FTDs need to be upgraded to 7.4 too. It doesn't actually say that in this particular documentation, but you're going to want to make sure that both the FMC and the FTDs are on 7.4 or later. So here we are in our FMC. The first thing we need to do, go to Devices, Platform Settings. In here we already have a policy from previous. We're going to go over there and edit this policy. And we're looking for NetFlow on the left-hand side. All right. So once we click NetFlow, we're going to enable it. So over here on the left-hand side, you can see it talks about active refresh interval, delay flow create, and template timeout rate. Leave those configuration settings the way they are. First one is set for 60 seconds. The second one, if you don't put anything in there, the delay flow create, that's 0. It won't have any delay before it sends the flow data. And of course, the template timeout rate is how often it sends the template for the NSEL telemetry. But if you want to read a little bit more about this, the FMC has a great feature that I really appreciate, and that's called page level help. You can click on the question mark in the upper right-hand corner, go to page level help, and that will bring up the page that describes the configuration settings you're currently looking at on the screen. And there we go. We can see active refresh interval for active connections, specify the time in minutes between flow update events. It's set for 1 minute, which is 60 seconds, like I said earlier. What's key about that is we want to get our flow information as quickly as possible when we're dealing with security related issues. You don't want to set that any higher. By default, like with switches, it's set for 30 minutes or something. That's fine for application visibility or application identification. But for security related stuff, we need that telemetry quickly. So we want it to come to us within 1 minute. All right, now let's do our configuration. We're going to click on Add Collector, and we're going to click on the plus sign that will create our collector object. Let's call it lab-PNM1. And it's basically our XDR flow collector. IP address for this, 192.168.58.113. And save it. We're going to be sending our telemetry on port 9997. And now it's asking for an interface group. Now we got to create one of those, and we will be sending the telemetry from the interface that is routable to the PNM sensor. In this case, it's going to be our inside interface, and we're going to call this inside interface group _IG. It's routed. We're adding the inside interface. And there we go. And let's go ahead and add that new group we just created. All right, now let's add the traffic class. Cleverly, we're going to call it XDR traffic class. We have to create an access list that identifies the traffic we're going to be creating NetFlow for. So XDR, telemetry, ACL. We're going to click add, and we're going to choose any. We want to see any traffic from anywhere to anywhere. And we're going to choose all. We want all telemetry types, and that's it. All that's left to do now is to click Save. All right, our configuration is complete in platform settings. Now we just have to deploy. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Deploy. And of course, this always takes a couple of minutes, so I'm going to speed up the video here. Okay, deployment's complete. Now to verify the telemetry, we could SSH into the FTD, or we could just go to Devices, Threat Defense CLI. This will allow us to send CLI level commands. We'll select the device we configured. It's going to be a show command, and we're going to be typing in the same thing we would if we had SSH'd in, flow-export counters. Click Execute. And there we go. Looks like we've already sent 1,095 packets. Okay, here we are at the console of our PNM sensor. We're typing in sudo tcp dump -i ens35. That's the interface we're receiving on. Port 9997. That's the telemetry is being sent with a -c10. Give us 10 packets. And you can see, bang, we already got those 10 packets. So looks like the PNM sensor is receiving like it should. So in your environment, you may have other solutions that you need to send telemetry to. If you need to send NetFlow to another solution set, that's quite easy, actually. You just have to create another collector with another traffic class assigned to it. So let's go ahead and walk through that now. All right, let's go ahead and just add another collector. Click on Add a Collector. We're going to create a new collector object. Could be any service. I'm just making something up here. Other telemetry sensor, that works. I always put a description in so the person that's coming behind me, a year or two later understands what I was doing here. Add the IP address for our host. All right, then let's put in the other port. It could be the same port or it could be a different one. I'm just going to make a different one here, but it's going to come from the same inside group. Go ahead and click Add and OK. Now we're going to create a different traffic class as well. We could use the same exact access control list. I'm going to probably just create another one up here. So, well, yeah, let's just create another one. It's going to be substantially similar. I'll make one slight deviation. I'm going to say instead of any, I'm going to say any IP version 4 to any. So any IP version 4 to the source to destination of any for this telemetry. But obviously you could make it, your 10 network to your 10 network or something. Instead of clicking all, I'm going to show you that you can use the other flow types designated, created, denied, updated, tear down, and go ahead and click OK and save it. Then all you got to do after that is deploy it like you would originally. All right, in this video, we use the FMC GUI to configure our FTD to send NetFlow to the PNM sensor. Remember, that's on version 7.4 code or later, and that code should be on both the FMC and the FTD. We also demonstrated how we can use a CLI level command that's being sent from the FMC GUI to verify telemetry was being sent from the FTD. And we verified that telemetry was received on the PNM sensor using the TCP dump command. And finally, at the end, we showed that we can add a second telemetry destination to the FTD. You can even add a third if you need to. If you're going to go too much more than that, you should probably be looking at a Cisco telemetry broker, though. We'll talk about that in another series of videos.